I'm calling this meeting to order. Today is March 26th. It is 6:16 p.m. We do not have quorum, but we are going to move with our presentation. We can't approve the agenda, but we're going to move with our presentation from the Parks Department, and Commissioner Holton is here with her team. So thank you so much, Commissioner, for showing up. Commissioner, our municipal services team asked for the commissioner to come through, and the commissioner is here. So thank you for that and being quick and responding in response. So we're gonna move forward as hopefully more board members come in will reach quorum, but we're gonna move forward with the Parks Department. I just wanna really quick before we go into the Parks Department's presentation, I just wanna go over just some norms and expectations for this meeting. We wanna make sure that as board members and as public members, we are respectful to all the speakers and the attendees. We wanna focus on addressing the problem and not criticizing the individual. We wanna encourage participation by stepping up, but also stepping back and allowing other people to speak. We wanna maintain discussion relevant to the topic. So please, if you have any questions, if you wanna say something, make sure that it's relevant to the topic that we're talking about. And board members, as we move forward, something that came out of the executive committee meeting, as you saw in your notes, were the process for motions, right? Raising our hands for any motions and then waiting for the acknowledgement to move forward. So, Commissioner Walker, you have the floor. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Clarissa. So thank you for inviting us to Community Board 1. As Clarissa said, I am the Bronx Parks Commissioner named Yesenia Ponte. I am a Bronx native, and we are here to discuss Hunts Point St. Mary's Recreation Center. Sorry about that. And I brought quite a few personnel from my team just so that they can give the presentation and answer any questions that you may have. I ask that you allow us to get through the presentation first. We took our time to put it together, that we have the opportunity to show you photos of what's going on at St. Mary's Recreation Center, because we couldn't do a physical tour because it's under construction. So I hope that you appreciate that, and this is an opportunity for us to continue that dialogue. So with that, I will open up and have Rebecca come up so she can do the presentation, if that's okay.
Commissioner, before you start, for the record, can you please introduce everybody that you have with you and the title? We can make sure it's recorded in the minutes.
I'm Rebecca Burns, Chief of Capital Architecture and Engineering.
The speaker that will follow her will be Pharrell Coates. He is the Chief of Recreation. He's standing. And the speaker that will follow is Vlad Cruz from Partnership and Parks. Also from our team, we have Assistant Commissioner Emily Chase, oversees public programs. And then we have our Bronx Regional Manager, Benjamin Kramer. He oversees operations for this district from 1 to 6.
Okay, again, I said I'm from the Capital Architecture Group. My name is Rebecca Burns, and we've been working on this project for a while now. We're going to give you some updates to what we have found in construction and what's going on. So first slide I just want to show is what the original project started at. We had $8.3 million in funding, and our main focus was on the ground floor lobby to really renovate that and really improve the lobby, to add an elevator to allow for accessibility onto all floors. So that included putting an elevator on the first floor and then lobbies on each of the floors above. We were also on the second floor renovating the men's and women's restrooms to make sure those were accessible. And we worked on putting a new fire alarm throughout the whole building. Your OTW, which is the order to work date, is when the official construction order to work with the contractor was in May 2022. Though we had that official start in May 2022, there were certain programming that we wanted to continue through that summer, especially the park summer camp. So we had a very limited amount of construction going on in that period. And once the camp was out and we were able to get in and demo, if you know construction, like once you get in and you demo, you end up sometimes, especially in older buildings, finding a lot of different items that you didn't see when you were in design. So basically, the first thing that happened was we found asbestos that was concealed behind ceilings and behind walls. With asbestos, we have to abate it, and you can't do any other work until it's fully abated and signed off from DEP. So that delayed the project originally immediately for 6 months. With the additional demolition, we found several areas of scope that we wanted to really address to make sure we were doing the building right and not, putting money into it and then it would get damaged over time. So we'll go through each of them, but a couple of the issues we found was water infiltration from storm events. We found issues on the electrical switchgear. We found water infiltration issues on the facade. We found some deteriorating door frames throughout the facility. And we found some additional facade deterioration. Again, this can happen in construction. We can find things that we didn't see before. And also from the length of time from design to construction, there's a period of time where additional deterioration working on all of these design elements to add the scope into this project. Right now, our scheduled completion date is April 2025, and we're saying that what we're really aiming for, unless while we're doing more construction, we uncover anything else. So the first issue is just, this slide is just showing that we had the asbestos containing material in the lobby. You can see it on some of the piping, and then you can see that it was behind the ceiling. This required us to abate, and that delayed the project right off the bat, where no other work could get done for 6 months. Yeah. Well, okay, then this is just showing some of the water infiltrations we found as we were working through the building. This is down in the mechanical room. There was a heavy storm, several heavy storms that we've been getting now. And this shows the amount of water that was coming down the sloped ramp into the mechanical room. We are doing additional testing on the drainage. We're doing additional design to make sure the drainage is adequate, and we're making sure to replace any equipment that was damaged and that the drainage is properly done. This is the some images of the electrical switchgear. That was, you can see the corrosive damage on it. There is some, again, water infiltration coming in. I don't know if you can see in the lower right picture, there's a lot of water coming in through that joint between the curb and the slab. We are addressing that. We're trying to completely watertight this room and replace the equipment. Additional water infiltration was found, and you can see in the lower corner what kind of damage does to a building. You can see the rebar coming out of the slab, and that's when the building is not watertight. So we're going around the entire envelope of the building, the walls, the slab, the windows, the doors, any opening, and making sure it's watertight. Additionally, we found during our demolition and looking at all the existing conditions when we got in again, the door frames that we were originally going to reuse were in a much more deteriorated condition, some of them from water infiltration. You can see the rusting at the bottom of this picture, and obviously it doesn't make any sense, nor should we reuse them. So we're taking some additional time to redesign those the frames and make sure that they're up to code, because also what it'll trigger is just a little bit more of those accessibility issues that we're trying to resolve through as much as we can throughout the building. And the last little slide we have of some of the discoveries was just some of in the courtyard area where you're going into the lobby, some of the masonry was loose. So we had one of our structural engineers go out and test it. And he found that some of it needed to be, additional testing to be done. Solid and like it needs to be done. And as the commissioner said, we would love to bring you guys all out there, but it is a construction site. So we just have some update photos here. The first one at the top is the exterior facade. You can see that they've taken all the windows off and they're starting to put in the new steel and scaffolding there. The bottom pictures are of the lobby demolished. And what you can't really see well in this picture is on one end of it is a depressed slab. That's where the new elevator is going to go in to allow for accessibility on all the floors. And the picture on the left shows the second floor where the elevator would come up and the amount of steel framing that needs to go in. The middle picture is the new restrooms for accessibility in progress. And lastly, you can't really see it, but it's the new fire alarm that's already installed throughout the building. And this is just a rendering of what it's going to look like when we're done with construction with the new lobby. And this is an image of the new interior lobby that will be once we are done with construction. And I think at this point we're going to
So, good evening, everyone. My name is Bronx Coates. I'm Chief of Recreation for the borough. Glad to be here this evening discussing St. Mary's. So, throughout this project, we've made a concerted effort to not eliminate programming within the park. We understand that it's a vital component of the community. It's a vital component of our programming curriculum. It's really important to everyone here. We want to make sure that we continue to provide programming. Existing and new initiatives, including New York City Trust grants, New York Community grants. We want to have a number of programs take place in the park this summer. Those programs include a Kids in Motion site. Some of you may be familiar, but for those who are not, at St. Mary's Park, we have 1 or 2 staff members stationed there, roughly between April and the end of October, 5 days a week, providing programs from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. for youth. We'd like to make sure that we're consistent with that type of programming to not eliminate things that could be provided. Provide movie nights as well as family days and mobile pop-up dates. Some of that, as I said, is through the New York Community Trust, but some of that is also through existing programs and initiatives. One of those initiatives that has always been in effect is councilmatic support, and we're very fortunate. Councilman Ayala has been extremely supportive of New York City Park within that district, and she often funds movies and family days. We'll have a family day probably this fall. We also have one scheduled for June.
Testing.
Another component of the New York Community Trust grant that we were able to receive will enable us to provide ranger programming. The New York City Parks Rangers are a division of public programs, and they really focus on nature programming. They'll provide what we like to refer to as weekend adventures. These programs will focus on geological education, super parks, family days, forest meditations. And they'll do these programs on weekends. We can share those dates with everyone and they'll be posted on our website. In addition to those standalone programs, they'll also provide activities prior to events such as movie night and some of our movie days. Just to give everybody one other thing that we're going to be offering, we're also going to have the New York Public Theater perform the Comedy of Errors at the Gil Scott Herring Amphitheater, which is in St. Mary's Park. We've programmed there previously. It's a great space, so we'd like to make sure that we can program that as much as possible. And we just want everybody to really understand that we made sure that we didn't try to forget about this community. We just try to stay as active as possible. I'll turn it over to Vlad from Partnership Parks.
Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Vlad Cruz. I'm one of the community engagement directors for Partnerships for Parks. And before I speak about our It's My Park project that we had just a few weeks ago, just to give you some background on what Partnerships for Parks is, it's a public-private program between the City Parks Foundation and NYC Parks. And what we do is we support and champion neighborhood volunteers and provide them tools to advocate and care for their neighborhood park and green spaces. And we put people, governments, nonprofit organizations with the skills necessary to beautify and turn their green spaces into active community places. One of the ways that we do this is primarily through our volunteerism efforts through It's My Park. It is a program that is sponsored by TD Bank, and we use tools to actually go out there and clean neighborhood parks. So we actually hosted our first event with Friends of St. Mary's. It's a dedicated group of neighborhood volunteers who've come together to address the issues at St. Mary's Park. We were reached out to by members of Assembly Member Septimo's office, and their staff gathered all of those neighborhood volunteers to come out and go out there and clean the park. So the first event here was on March 16th. Thank you to Chairperson Clarissa, who was out there with us cleaning the park. She along with a couple of other volunteers, up to 14 volunteers, picked up about 20 bags of trash in 2 hours, which sounds impressive. And at the same time, it's just a little disappointing that there's that much trash. But the thing that we tell our volunteers is that number of trash bags equates to about a week's worth of parkies work out there. So the work that the volunteers are doing are helping to supplement and beautify their park space. We find that it inspires their neighborhood if they see members of the community take charge of what's actually theirs. So we started on 146th Street, right across from the Batanzas Community Center, and focused our areas there. On the next slide, you'll see our flyer for the next It's My Park event, which will be on Saturday, March the 30th at 9 a.m. I will be out there again, along with Robert Maheda, who is our community engagement coordinator for this community board and this district. And if you're interested in partaking in any of our Friends of St. Mary's meetings, the following meeting will be on Thursday, March 28th. I encourage you to please attend. We'd love to hear all of your ideas for how you would like to see that park space activated and grow that community partner group into something that really invests into the community alongside with the growth of the recreation center that we hope to see open in the next year.
This is the presentation, so.
Thank you so much. So we're at this time, first of all, thank you for that presentation from the team. And at this time, we want to open it up to questions related to the rec center, the activities and the presentation that was seen today. So are there any questions right now? Audrey, yes.
Audrey De Jesus, community board member. The bathrooms are gonna be gender neutral.
Thank you for the presentation, DeLorean and Namoran. So the park has been completely shut down since August of 2022. I see the tentative completion date is April 2025. And I know there's programming in the summer that you guys are trying to supplement, but the program, the The rec center used to be utilized during the school year as well and served other purposes, that there's no explanation on how those gaps have been filled. I mean, obviously, we know a lot of schools utilize those spaces, so for 3 years, that space has been unavailable. That's like entire middle schoolers, who probably were using the rec center and no longer have that rec center. So I just wanna know how that gap is being filled.
Unfortunately, it's very difficult to fill such a gap without a facility within the community. We only have 6 recreation centers across the borough and 1 visitor center. The nearest recreation center to this location is Hunts Point. And I'll be honest with you, I understand it doesn't fill the entire need, but we've expanded the capacity of our summer camp at that location. In addition, we can work with other community providers that have pools to see if we can find locations to host other learning swimming programs. Quite honestly, we're limited by the facility that we have at our disposal to program. Possible, move that programming outdoors. As I mentioned, we have the Kids in Motion location. Typically, that program has 1 staff member, but because we recognize that we have to move out of that facility, staff members through that program, to make it more robust compared to a typical KIM site. Just try to fill it the best we can, but I fully understand that the gap has not been completed. It's just at this point, unfortunately, beyond our capacity to do so.
Hi, Emily Pace, Assistant Commissioner for Public Programs. I just wanted to add that our urban park rangers do go into the schools through the natural classroom program and then take some of that curricula outside into the parks in the Bronx. So I just wanted to add that that's one way we can continue to interact with school classrooms.
So Ramona Ferreira, board member, that's just unexcusable. My question to you guys is actually what the closest sites are that could fill this need. And while I understand that you're saying it's Hunts Point, I think we also need to be looking towards East Harlem and finding ways to utilize the services that Councilmember Ayala oversees, because the district is split. And our children needing to learn how to swim, waiting 3 years is like not acceptable. Our children waiting for programming for 3 years is just not acceptable. So I would really appreciate if you guys could come back with ideas about how to create more robust gap filling activities that would use city sites, including schools, including libraries, and including all of the other sites that could fill the void that St. Mary's already has. And if that necessitates like transportation and support of that site, then that's something that we need to understand, because 2025 is just too far off.
Valid complaint, just so everyone is aware. When I mentioned Hunts Point Recreation Center being the closest one, is the closest one in the Bronx. We have the Hansborough Recreation Center just located across the river in Manhattan, as well as Jefferson Recreation Center. We also have Thomas Jefferson on 112th Street. It's all within that general area. I can make sure that we share programming at that location, at those locations with the community board, so they can share with all the constituents. But I do recognize it's a shortfall, and we're trying the best that we can.
So I would say if you can look at
I
the.
also want to just acknowledge that our city council member, Diana Ayala, is here at the community board. She's up front. So I just wanted to acknowledge that for a second.
So I would say part of the homework then is also figuring out what programming we actually lost and looking at Hunts Point, Jefferson, and the other one that you mentioned, and then showing us how you're going to fill the gaps for St. Mary's using the other sites, and then letting the board know and letting council know what you can't fill without support from external parties.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can add something. Let me just add, because I don't, but I don't want it to be lost on anybody in this room that this was a miracle that fell on us. This recreation center hadn't been renovated in years. It is very expensive to do that, and we would, whatever you thought about Bill de Blasio,
send him a thank you note because he funded the renovation of all of our parks. I think that we have maybe one or two left that are not funded yet, but we did Pulaski Park, we did Playground 1, 2, 3, we did, we're doing Losada, which one? Willis, I mean, Ponce, we've done so many of them, but this particular park, because it has so much diversity and there's just so many things that are going on. You have a dog run, you have, baseball, you have, soccer, you have all of these different activities. It was called an anchor project, and every borough got one, and we were the designated community that was able to get that funding. So I really just want to say that, that is a really big deal for us, and that, when I have to fund parks, I'm always excited that I don't have to do that many in the Bronx because they're really expensive. But we were able to get them all done already. And that's important. So too, the kids in the community are always welcome and able to go to any recreation center. Just because they live here doesn't mean that they can't go there. It's probably gonna be really unlikely that they're gonna do that because transportation is an issue. And I will tell you that I wish that I could give you better news, but it's not up on top in the Jefferson Recreation Center. It's St. Mary's is actually my favorite because there was a lot more space and a lot more programming that was available here than, we are able to accommodate for in Jefferson, which is teeny tiny. But you're also welcome to come. And so we'll work on it. Unfortunately, when these things are happening, sacrifices have to be made. The swim program, the early swim program was actually suspended, so I also want to just clarify that it had been suspended for a couple of summers because, as you may have heard, there is a serious shortage in lifeguards. So if you know of anyone that would like to be a lifeguard, the Parks Department is desperate to talk to you. But that meant that we lost the early swim, and we also lost our senior swim program that I'm devastated about. Early swim came back last summer, so I'm expecting it to be back this summer, but it didn't come back everywhere. So, we still have challenges that, fortunately are beyond everybody's control. But let's just acknowledge how hard, they've been working. And if you have ideas, I appreciate, Ramona, you're very active in the community. Any ideas of things that we could be doing, we'll continue to do the programming throughout the summer when the bulk of the kids are out there. But I would also encourage maybe the use of the Kansas Community Center across the street for after school program services. They have a lot of space, and I'm happy to make that connection as well. Okay.
We have a question in the back.
Thank you. My name is Carmen Santiago, a community resident, and I have a question relating to the general contractor. I saw the 8 million point something dollars. It's a few, one question may lead into another question for clarity. So the program has been in 3 years according to Stalco Construction Inc. from, anyway, they're in New York City, and so 33 years at 36% completion. This information is online. The permits are online. So that's 12% completion a year, which is a really low and slow rate. But I understand why, because of the abatements and everything that you found. So my question is, out of the 8 point something million, 3 years worth in, that our center has been closed, how much of that money has been eaten up? How much is left? Or maybe it's increased because of change orders, possibly. So where are we with the money amount?
I mean, at this point, I can't give you an actual figure. 8.3 is the overall budget for the original, and we always have a 10% contingency for any of these kind of situations to do all these change orders. So in the end, the funding will go up, and if we need to find additional funding, we will find additional funding to make sure this building is watertight.
So a lead-up question to that is the 64%. The 64% that is left, I suggest to the board maybe having the GC, Stockholm Construction, to come and give a presentation also in conjunction with Parks Department also, so we can, get those questions answered. As far as 64% is left, and you're mentioning April 2025.
So, I mean, when you say 64% is left, you have to, it sounds like you know construction, so,
I got it online from Stockholm.
Oh, okay, but,
And I spoke to Stockholm myself.
oh, you spoke to Stockholm,
Yes.
okay. So a lot of times what, those numbers, the percentages are sort of a little bit misleading, because we've done the demolition, and then what the problem is when you find an issue in construction, we have to pause and have our designers, design. It's not like we can just, so that's the period that we've been waiting for. The minute we have these designs, which they're actively working on right now, it'll pick up speed, like we'll hopefully pick up a lot of percentages in much less time. If that makes sense.
Sure, it makes sense to me, yeah.
Okay.
Again, Stockholm, they should be here also, or maybe a future visitor
That's
to the
not
community.
typical, it's not typical, but.
I can visit them on site also.
Thank you, Carmen.
Thank you. How do we use our park when there's needles? So we can't use our park 3 years in, the community center's been closed, but we got addicts, drug dealers, syringes. Narcan is being discarded. They're not using the Narcan. That's something new that I've noticed. They don't want the Narcan. So this is what's in our park. We can't use the center, and we can't be in the park with all these rec classes or whatever it is that we want to do. This is the reality of our park. Syringes, needles, drug dealers, the drug cartels, drug addicts, the homeless, and the mentally ill.
Thank you,
We
Carmen.
need services in our park.
Thank you, Carmen.
Thank you. We're moving on.
Thank you, Carmen, and I think it's not Parks can say something, but also our council member, will speak on that as well.
And only because this has been like, when I ran, not my pet peeve, but it's become my mission in life now to resolve the whole opioid crisis for the city. We have a serious problem in New York City. I have my own container, Carmen, I believe you. I've actually physically gone out into the community and picked up the needles, and I will tell you, I just came from 145th, because it's not just St. Mary's. Patterson Playground was completely littered in syringe litter. People were high from the beginning of the block to the end of the block. And we were able to resolve a lot of the issues there. And actually, it was so bad that I had to call a hazmat team to come in and clean the utilities, because there were thousands of improperly disposed of syringes. This is a public health crisis, and it's a public health crisis that we see more because there is a link between poverty and mental health issues, poverty and substance use disorder. It's unfortunate, but that is the truth, right? And I'm not gonna lie, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. The issue that we have here, the way that I have been addressing it, and in St. Mary's, I've had conversations about how to properly, attack this from a place where you're actually gonna see results. That's an NYPD issue, and it's not the addicts, as we call them, which I don't like the word. But it's really, when you see people getting high somewhere, they're telling you a story. They're telling you that in that particular community, you have a drug issue. You have drug dealers that are selling them and contributing to this problem. And so the attention shouldn't really be towards the people that are sick. It should be towards those drug dealers that are bringing those drugs into your community. And now simultaneously, we have funded, and we will continue to fund, the cleaning of the syringes in the parks. I, had 2 kids in June that were struck by a needle. They were in their playground in their school. It's a jointly operated space. And one of them picked up the needle and put it in his pocket and stuck himself. Then shared it with his friend, who also stuck himself. Their mothers were
hysterical. Can you imagine you send your kids to school and then this happened? Like, it's horrible that this is happening to us. So this is not any one person's fault, and it's not any one person's failure. It is impossible right now to address the number of syringes that are coming into our parks. And so we need to really redirect and try to figure out, and I'm gonna tell you that I sit in my car and surveil myself. Like, the drug dealers know me by name because I'm out there trying to figure out, like, where is it coming from, who is it? But I tell you that in those cases where we've been successful, you immediately see a reduction. And Patterson is actually a really great example of that, because if you go there now, it is absolutely nowhere near. And Clarissa could tell you, because the kids at PS18, when they come, PS18, when they were coming out to play, you had the fence, you had the kids playing on one end and grown men shooting up on the opposite side of the fence. Like, that's not acceptable. We shouldn't sacrifice one thing for the other. So we'll continue to do better. But what I did do, and I will say I did this as an act of desperation, because the city did not come up and still has not come up with a solution that helps communities of color, communities where this is prominent. This is my community, Rafael Salamanca's community, Carmen de la Rosa up in Washington Heights, Jen, Gutierrez in Brooklyn, Eric, Botcher in Chelsea. Like, these are communities that are like infested with needles. And I brought it up. I have tried everything under the sun, and it falls on deaf ears. So 2 years ago, we submitted an LS request, as a legislative request, to create a law that would create a pilot program for a buyback program. And so it's, when people hear it, they're like, "Are you crazy? Now you want to give them money?" No, I don't want to give anybody money. It's for them to be able to take the damn needles back. And the programs are supposed to be an exchange program. You bring your dirty needle, you get a clean needle. People don't do that. They get high and they throw it on the floor. That's the way that it is, right? And so the idea was that in those communities, 5 communities that have the highest rate of syringe litter, would participate in this pilot program to see, how effective it would be. But it was really also kind of punch in the gut to the administration to say, like, come up with a better plan. And they haven't. And so I'm hoping, that they finally, the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene finally introduced this as part of, the language that, that they use. And so it's a rule. So I'm hoping that we'll see it put it, to practice soon. And I'm hopeful that especially this area right here will benefit from that, because we desperately need it. And, again, it's not the best solution. I admit that. But when you have nothing, this is where we get.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Jacqueline De Jesus. I have a questions about the program. So I'm part of the community and I have a son with autism. What programs you guys are gonna offer? Because previously, used to be part of St. Mary's. I have older kids, we did summer camp and everything. But when it came to him, he couldn't do the summer camp because they weren't properly trained. So now with everything, the new building and new stuff, what are you gonna be able to offer, not just him, but all the kids in the community that are on the spectrum or different ability? Because you have blind kids, you have kids who can't walk and stuff. So what are we doing for these kids to make them feel included as well?
Thank you so much. So what we've been trying to do is increase the amount of time that we spend training our staff members, our recreation professionals, so that they can service everyone. But quite honestly, what we like to do is lean on other service providers and community groups that have that as their specialty, that have that as a real skill set, who are professionals in that environment to provide the highest level of programming and activities. When the recreation center opens, there will be programs specifically with that in mind. They will be offered. It's something that we've been rolling out at all of our recreation centers across the city, and St. Mary's will be no different. So at Hunts Point, we have a partnership with the Keen program, And we provide sports activities, arts activities, and activities in the media education room, which is basically our computer room, for those participants. Yeah. We advertise via flyers, we go hand in hand, it's part of our general outreach. So we don't necessarily say we're gonna conduct outreach for this program and we don't conduct outreach for the other program. When we try to outreach, we outreach for all programs, because we want as many people to utilize our space as possible. It's on our website, as I said, we have flyers, and especially when we have events, we share that with groups and large organizations to try to get as many people to come in as possible.
More questions?
Applied Baute here, community board member. Thank you so much for this amazing project. It's really interesting. I like it within the community. But I wanna encourage really to take point what she highlighted, like I forget her name, but she highlighted something important. All the things that people already highlighted is important to have that in the process so we can move forward. So we like to have it, but also understand every challenges that we are highlighting. We love it really, but take the point and let's move forward in the right direction for the better of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. I just wanna, also tap into, Department of Sanitation, who's here as well. I know you also are, responsible for syringe pickups, and so I'd like to bring you up to talk a little bit about that. How many, syringes do you guys collect on a daily? You can.
I mean, that question, had I known that, that question was going to be asked, I would have brought some data or some statistics. But again, we can circle back on those numbers if you'd like.
Hello, Sanjay Lopez, Community Board One member. I wanted to ask, in the Municipal Services Committee, several times it was brought up that there were errors done by some of the contractors. Can you address that, mistakes, and how, that kept happening? So, how often contractors were changed, if any? Also, can you also address the fact that the April 2025 completion date is not set in stone? There's an asterisk right below it that says.
I'm sorry, your first question though, you were saying you heard, I'm not, it's been the same contractor since the beginning of the job. So I don't know where you heard that, what you're referencing, but you can talk after, I'm not sure.
Yes, from clarification, in the Municipal Services Committee in this community board, what has come up before in meetings regarding the St. Mary's Recreation Center is that contractors have made mistakes. So we didn't talk about that tonight, but I just wanted more background on that.
No, there's nothing that I know of. I mean, main challenges, and we're finding this is on other rec centers in different boroughs. We got a lot of funding for rec centers to renovate these older buildings, and you go in and you really find things that, were unexpected, and that's the real delay. It's not the contractor, it's just discovering additional scope that we have to address.
Okay, thank you. And on the April 2025 completion date, also clarification on the fact that that is not set in stone.
Because that's the estimate that we're making right now. There's so many factors that can affect that. For instance, the electrical switchgear that we showed you. We are, right now, that's a very long lead item, meaning once it's, completed design and the contractor goes and purchases it, it could be 9 months before we get delivery. So we always have that sort of like in the back of our head. We try to estimate how long things are gonna come in, what we're, if we find anything additional, once we take all the door frames off, we, start to look at what that facade really needs in the courtyard. Maybe it's minimal work, or maybe it's a lot larger. So that's why we have that asterisk, because we know how construction is gonna go and how the suppliers go and how many different factors can affect the date.
Gandhi Ambrose, Chair of Municipal Services. I'm thinking that we're here in a third world country. Now, I hate to say this, we are in America. And when you call a contractor to come and do the work in your home, they do an assessment, an evaluation, and then they come and tell you how long it's going to take to get this done. Our kids are suffering. Let's be clear that you're going to tell me there are 20 parks that's been under construction. Our park is not under construction. I don't care what somebody else is doing. 3 years is not acceptable for a project that it takes 6 months to remove asbestos in the building. That small building, asbestos is not in a whole building. It's a part of it. It takes 6 months. We're giving somebody a contract to build, to renovate the building. We tell you finish when you feel like. That's exactly what it is. We have the YMCA that opened about a year ago. That has a swimming pool. That would have been the easiest thing for us to negotiate with them so they can bring the price down. Our kid can go learn how to swim. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that. We are sitting here, they're telling us about projects somewhere else, what they can go to Harlem. Why should we go to Harlem? YMCA is a public funding. I think the city get money, so they're going to negotiate with us. So these are things that we can do for our kids to get accommodation. I saw a lady, she was taking her child to Lehman College for swimming, paying the cap, paying the fee to, it's not conceivable. I don't think, if we're gonna see here, after 3 years, 36% of the project is done, there is a problem. And I don't think this will happen in Harlem. I don't think this will happen in downtown. This can only happen in South Bronx. Because guess what? Now, let's be clear and honest with it. And I think that we always get the wrong end of the stick because people, let's start talking. Let's start expressing ourselves. We are too quiet, and that's the reason why we get the raw end of the stick. I can't conceive that when they came to this board telling us they're going to fix that St. Mary's Park, you know when they close it? In May. The question was, why are you closing the park in May when the kids going to be using it during the summer? This was a question we asked them. We said, why don't you use that during the winter time when the kids are more in the house, so at least we can save time. We as a concerned parent, these are the questions that we asked. They kept giving us some kind of answer to it. We had no control. The mayor already made a decision. I mean, downtown already made a decision. Let's get clear. We can't sit here, and I wonder if all these programs that they're showing us right now is because we called the park to come in here. They were never volunteered to come and tell us about this program. The community has been so quiet. It's been so quiet. They keep pushing it next year, year after year, year after year. Nobody's asked himself, what do we do with our children? This is another summer coming. Nobody's going to use it. Even before that, you could walk into that place, bare metal. You go to 111th Street, program there. You walk into there, you see equipment in there, you think you're into Planet Fitness. But you walk into this one, bare metal. You bang, 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 bang. I mean, everything is so old in there. And I understand we're trying to fix it, but come on, we're a taxpayer in this community like anybody else. Just give us the level. Also, really, I would like to say thank you to the commissioner for coming here, taking time, coming here and listening to us. And I hope that, no, I'm serious, I let the emotion dominate my God. And I thank you for coming, really, but this is not making any sense to us that we're gonna go for another 1 year without having a park available for us. That we were told that when they when they walk in on a swimming pool, they're gonna close one side, let us use the other side. This is what we were told. And then they turn around and say, okay, well, when we finish with the swimming pool, the gym will be done, so we can close that section. People can use the gym while the other section is going. None of them has been applied. None. Do you know what it is? Go with had no checklist. Nobody's checking on what they told us. When they're coming to get the approval, they can tell us everything that's good. We approve it, they walk away, and they go and manage the way they want it. That's what we live in the South Bronx. Thank you. And also, a municipal service meeting is on Wednesday at 6 o'clock. Now, let me tell you, the reason I'm bringing this up, community belong to us. We are the gatekeeper of our community. You don't bring problem there, we don't know what to do. Okay, we'd like to reach out to you with the problem our community is having, so we can find a solution, bringing these people here so they can tell us. But if you don't bring problem to us, I don't know what's going on in another part of town. So please be part of your community, be engaged. Call 311 and complain. The city function on a statistic. You don't call, everybody's fine. Other people call, that's where they get a reaction. All right, thank you.
Commissioner?
Thank you for that. I will add that I understand everyone's frustration. I am coming 2 years, I'll be 2 years as the Borough Commissioner. I am a Bronxite, I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother. I live off the programs, locally programs. So I understand, and St. Mary's Recreation Center is our only indoor pool facility in the borough. So it's super important to us. So when you say things are moving differently, I'm sorry that it is. You're saying there was not a checklist. What happens is when you close these buildings, when you start construction, they become unsafe, right? So we may have said we can close it off in phases, but as we started construction, we knew that it could not be phased in because of the conditions that we found. When you ask, personal general contractors to your home work differently than city registered contractors, and I don't want to get into it because I'm not a contractor, right? But we definitely, it's just as important to us at the Parks Department, to me as your commissioner of the borough, because I understand that that's not our youth, it's everyone in the community deserves the rec center to be open as soon as possible. So what we can do is come Wednesdays and we can try to update you sooner, right? To keep you abreast of what's going on instead of us coming to this forum and we're hearing different information, right? You said that the contractor made errors, et cetera. So you're hearing it from us. So we're happy to provide those updates at these committee meetings and to all of you, because you deserve it, right? You are the community, you are the public, and you use our recreation centers. And I will add that all of our programming is on our website. So if you do have access to the website, you can see everything that's being offered borough-wide, citywide. We welcome you to check our website. Valerie Davis from my office attends the community board meetings. She can continue to email flyers if there's flyers available. We can send and share, if the board allows, our website during your newsletters, so people can see this real time. Because we have a lot of great things going on in the borough of the Bronx. We do have a lot of great things going on in Community Board 1, and I understand everyone's frustration, particularly about this rec center, but we'll get it resolved. I know the timeline is not the best, but we'll get there. So thank you.
Thank you. And right now, so we're gonna close out. I wanna thank Parks Department. What I'm gonna do is, if you have any questions, please email them to the community board. Any questions, email your questions to the community board. If you have an agenda, the email is at the top. And I can read it out. It's bx01@cb.nyc.gov. So right now, I want to thank the commissioner and the park team for coming out. Thank you so much.
That's what I'm trying to ask about. The next steps that they owe us, we didn't even go over that. We need to create them, like the fact that they're not advertising.
No, I think at the committee, they came up with that.
No, from this
Gotta
meeting
come to the
tonight, the
committee.
information that they didn't have for us. Like, the next time that the Parks Department and sanitation comes through, they should know how many syringes they pick up. The next time that they come through, they should be
DSNY is
advertising the
staying.
classes.
DSNY is gonna stay, but come to the municipal service.
To go over the things that they owe us as they're
Yeah, the
leaving.
next steps. All right, so we're gonna do roll call right now. We didn't have quorum, we now have quorum, so we're gonna get started with roll call.
The clerk will call the roll.
Clarissa Villeto. Evelyn Alvarez. Ngande Ambrose.
Grande Andros. Yeah.
Mr. Garde. Zion Baldwin. Daniel Barber. Stephen Benedict. Kevin Goldman.
Absent.
Carol Golding.
Absent.
Betty Bryant Brown. Stephanie Calzado.
Absent.
Lissaret Capusano. Carolyn Chamorro.
Absent.
Maura Cosme.
Absent.
Audrey De Jesus.
Present.
Linda Duke.
Yeah.
Alejandro Escamilla.
Absent.
Josephine Fernandez Guerrero. Ana Ferreira.
Here.
Henry Gomez.
Present.
Brenda Goodwin.
Absent.
Christine Licata. Sanji Lopez.
Present.
Paola Martinez. Nellie McKay.
Absent.
Mohammed Mutaki.
Absent.
Delerny Memory.
Present.
Argelia Ortiz. Emmanuel Pardilla.
Absent.
Marilyn Pena.
Absent.
Alyssa Perez.
Absent.
Freddie Perez Jr.
Present.
Claudia Rahman. Jose Rodriguez. Mohammed Sheikh. Patricia Simpson.
Absent.
Christina Turner. Whitney Williams.
Present.
Tracy Woodwall.
Absent.
Hakeem Yamadi.
Absent.
Caesar Young.
Absent.
Chairperson Nieto, we have quorum.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Okay, we're gonna move forward. So everyone received the agenda, everyone received the minutes. And so right now, I just want to make a motion. Can we get a motion to approve the agenda?
Say your name, please.
So we have Henry Gomez. Can we get a second? Hand raised. Second, any discussion on the motion? Any abstentions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Agenda is approved. To public session. All right, so we have two speakers for public session. First up is Maria Prado, the Prado of Transitioning Forward, Inc. You have 3 minutes.
I'm a little bit nervous here, I'm sorry. So, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Maria A. Prado. Welcome to the Prado of Transitioning Forward, known as the PTF. I am she. So, this is my story. In 1987, I lost my apartment due to fire, unaware of how to navigate the New York City system. I was befriended and brought to Riverside Park, where I was taught how to survive on the streets by dumpster diving, panhandling, eating unspoiled food from the garbage cans, canning, and panhandling in the city that never sleeps. By 1989, I was addicted to crack cocaine and fell victim to the predators. I adapted to learn survival tactics and street savvy as a mole person of New York City and a hustler. 2 decades later, and a dozen arrests and stints of rehabs, and during witnessing pain, suffering, abuse, I retired in 2008 to transition to a life of sobriety and self-sufficiency. My motivation was through personal experiences. I'm sorry. the motivation, my personal experiences, as well as, reaching back to, wow, I'm sorry. I decided to pay it back to women and youth still stuck in the grips of addiction, homelessness, domestic violence, mental health, and substance use disorders. I networked with other nonprofit organizations such as Fortune Society, Housing Works, and Guns Down and Life Up. I got an education knowingly that I needed to do the job, if I wanted to do the job correctly. At age 51, I obtained my master's in public administration. My mission, our goal is basically, and our mission is to support, house, and educate, and empower. It's called the She Method. Next. Our board members, Maria Prado, Alan Dotson, Alice De La Cruz. Gina O'Connor is our secretary, David Winston, who recently passed. Maria Sam Joseph, who was also the developer for Exponents. Lawrence Silverman, practitioner. Next. Our vision is simple. We plan to decrease homelessness in New York City, primarily for the female population who is inherently undercounted. Our statistics is very clear. Homeless women, 4,042. Unaccounted, who knows? Incarcerated, 170,000. Substance use disorders, 27,000. Mental health, 1 out of 5 for women. Domestic violence, 1 out of 4 for women, 1 out of 9 for men. So y'all men ain't excluded. I'm just letting y'all know that. People living with HIV, 35,000. And we have a total of 9 million people, and 51% are women. We have some barriers. One of our barriers is, for the good point, is that we do have an RFP that has been approved. However, the issue is DHS is a little slow. Capacity planning has not approved our buildings, and we submitted 13. This 13th one, we're waiting for them to give us the either yay or nay. So we have here, my eyes are getting bad. So we have here where
you can look at the one behind you. The computer over there.
So we're locating, I got a big mouth. We're locating property through DHS approval. We have a deficit in New York City. Thank you. We have a deficit in New York City funding sources for startups. Most resources are being channeled to long-standing organizations.
At the computer.
So our solution is to obtain a property via support of the community board and politicians in the Bronx primarily. Getting funding, private donors, employ informed and educated staff, and services be readily available. Our goal, to get a drop-in center, a major hotspot to a mobile unit, a component with services for youth, approximately 3.7 million. We ain't asking for a whole lot. We can do with just a hole in the wall. We're perfectly fine. Open a shelter for services with women and open a support housing. How can you help? It's right there. Everything I said, that's what we need help with. Next. We want to thank Louis Oscar Buga, New York State Senator, Darcel Clark, Assemblywoman, Amanda Septimo, Margaret Morton for supporting me, Jonathan Berger for supporting me, also putting me in a gallery, Guns Down Life Up, Housing Works, and Odyssey House. So I just want to kind of reiterate on the women's piece. So as you notice, they're saying there's 4 million women that are accounted for that are homeless. But they can't figure out how many people are not, how many women are not homeless. So, with that said, we need to put boots to ground to make this happen. I am a statistic. I've been homeless for over 2 decades. I know what it's like to be on the street. I know what it's like to eat out of. I wouldn't come indoors shelter because of the abuse that was going on in there. Not saying it's going on now, but we don't know. I will never find out, hopefully. But with that, we need the community board, we need the politicians, we need the whole community. I live here. I live right across the street. I see what goes on at Lincoln Hospital. I see what goes on in the parks. I see what goes on the streets. I'm fighting for this community right here. I want to get a building where we can take some of these homeless people with mental health issues, substance abuse issues off the streets. I'm trying to help. I've been there. I know what it's like. I can do it. What better person can do it than a person that lived it? So I'm fighting to clean up our neighborhood. So I'm asking for a letter of support, please. And if you have any questions for me, don't be shy.
Thank you, Maria. So we are actually, we're gonna vote at during the, committee chair report, for Paola after talk about your report, we'll vote, for Ms. Bravos' item. So our next presenter is Adam with sanitation. We didn't have the needle count today.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. I just wanted to be a little short and brief. As many as you know, starting March 1st, we did require all businesses to bid up on their trash, generated garbage. And again, this applies to all businesses, regardless of whatever product, whatever services are provided. Again, this does not apply to recyclables. That could still be placed in a white clear bag, or you can bundle your boxes. I did bring some decals. They're sitting in the back, but they're still there. I just wanted to provide that information because people still don't know how to recycle, so these are very beneficial. I did also include some mini ones as well that you can put up on your fridge or in the lobby of your building, regardless. They apply to both apartment buildings and residential homes. If anyone has any questions for me, I'd love to answer some questions.
Yes, so I can go either way, right? My question is regarding garbage. Bergen and one for the next. Those baskets that sit on the corner of the street, they are not removed in the Bronx as they're supposed to somewhere else. This is, I can show you my picture every week. I take at least one picture. Mr. Chairman, this manager, I sent to him. I think that there's a truck that passed, we were told from your service at one point in this bar that the truck should be passing by all the time to empty those, yes, on the corner of the telephone, electric of the street. Bergen, right on the corner there, this never fail. It never fail. And I think that your crew drive by. And I say it again, they drive by, they don't pick up. We were told that one service goes around empty those basket. If not, when they do the route, they empty it up. Not only they don't empty the basket, that is get full on the, it's like a dumpster. And this is going on also 149th Street and Southern Boulevard. And these are places that we get off the subway, as the subway. That's what we see. You don't see this downtown. I mean, how many times do I call your office for that? We got empty lot that become a dumpster. And I was told there is a service that goes around the borough to empty those things. It doesn't apply to us. Now, you tell us, your supervisor that drive around the neighborhood, do they look at those things or they just look straight at the traffic light? Because it doesn't make sense. No, I'm serious. We are living in a Bronx. You talking about commercial services using a dumpster to collect garbage so we don't get a lot of rat. Right? It pizza all the time on the corner. There's a pizza shop right next to it. These are little things that make a difference. We feel like in the South Bronx, we don't get the service that we're supposed to be getting. And I'm sorry to be emotional about it. It's because it's a repetitive every week. Every week I drive in again. I can show you every time I pass by, I take a picture. Please tell us why you guys don't do those pickup.
I will take those concerns with me and I'll speak to the Bronx Borough Office regarding about, services that you're not seeing when they're supposed to be saturated with services as far as pickup. So again, if we're referencing the sanitation committee that was taking place on March 20th, I did take a look at those notes. I'd like to know who you spoke with as well as the deputy chief regarding the overflowing containers as well as businesses not following, the timing that they're putting in garbage. So again, I will provide you my contact information. We can, open a dialogue to see how these concerns can be addressed.
So maybe you guys want to get them next time. So we can invite them at the meeting next time so we can. It's a deal. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Adam, you shared that a lot of folks don't know how to recycle, it's true. But our folks need more education on recycling, especially in schools or children. I remember as a kid, I learned from a lady on the street not to recycle. I mean, how to recycle and not to litter on the floor, but I didn't learn from, institutions like the DSNY, other city agencies. So I know that the DSNY has a compost program in the schools. Is there also a recycling education program for children that they can then take to their families and teach, folks how to recycle so that we know?
I mean, we do plenty of outreach at schools with recycling. I go to numerous schools as well, and I do educate kids. But going to these classrooms, I already see that the teachers already set that foundation up for, recycling, reducing, donating goods. We just simply just supplement that education with what the teacher has already, established. But yes, outreach, reaching the community members, we're both sharing that concern. Residents still don't know how to recycling. So, outreach is at the front line for us basically, because how can we have the community respond to our rules and regulations without us first approaching in a outreach sort of, way. So that was, great, valid point. But again, outreach is our number one priority, reaching everyone.
Margie, how much time do we have left?
How much time do we have left from the speaker?
Hi, Josephine Byrne, committee, board member. I think the schools, I have one school on the corner of my house, and it's 3 schools in one, and they are the biggest offenders when it comes to garbage. It is a buffet for the rats, raccoons, and every other vermin on the block. The garbage is not picked up on a regular basis. The school produces a massive amount of garbage every day. That garbage should be picked up every day, not left over the weekend, over holiday weekend, which happens many times. Then you have people dumping on top of it because they see the garbage there and they figure, okay, I can put my garbage there or my whatever I'm throwing out there. Okay, that's number one. And I know there is a schedule for that, because I've spoken to the Bronx Commissioner before about that. Number two, the alternate side parking to allow the sweepers to come is a pain in the butt. They are not giving anybody tickets, nobody moves. Nobody moves, so the streets do not get cleaned. And then to add insult to injury, the homeowners and property owners are given tickets because the streets are dirty. That's not fair. That is not fair. And lastly, the situation with the garbage, as someone already mentioned at the end of the blocks, the containers are overfilled especially. And I understand that now on certain holidays, before we didn't have garbage pickup, but now we're having garbage pickup. But I would suggest that the garbage get picked up first, because a lot of times they're delayed, they don't come that same day, they'll come a day later. The garbage get picked up first and then leave the recycling to last, because, you know, there's no food product in that. Thank you.
What was the name of the school that you're referencing?
There's three of them, MS 224, MS 334, and International High School.
Thank
It's the old burger, 142 and Brook Avenue.
345 Brooklyn Avenue.
Thank you. We have one more question.
So I want to take us back to the presentation you're making tonight, which is about businesses putting their trash in these new receptacles. What is the enforcement process for that? And that's gonna take me to the second part of it, which is, I wanna know how you're staffed to actually enforce that, and then how you're staffed compared to, let's say, East Harlem, Central Harlem. You probably don't have those numbers, because y'all don't like to bring numbers, but that's gonna be part of the homework. Like, the next time we talk to sanitation, I wanna know if we're being staffed at the same levels, because enforcement doesn't seem to be happening. And then I also wanna know syringe wise, what is it that you're actually picking up? Because I think that that's a statistic that you should have on you every single time you come to the community court. You could start with enforcement, and then the second part is, when is the anticipation for this to roll out to the households?
So as far as enforcement, in the month of March, we've been issuing warnings. Again, I don't have a number, but it's in the thousands that we've warned businesses. Starting in April, we're going to start issuing violations, again, fines. So, again, businesses they're gonna have to react quickly.
What's the scale cost for the violations?
It could be starting anywhere from $250 to upwards of $400 or even more. It all depends on how many times that business has offended, the rules and regulations, basically. I'm sorry, the second question?
Do you have the staff to enforce this come April?
I mean, we're a 24-hour agency, so again, it's.
No, I mean this district, right? I know the agency has a ton of people for other spaces, but not historically for the South Bronx. So for the South Bronx, like, how are we staffed versus the Upper West Side? Because 149th gets like the second amount of people traffic in the city, but we've never been staffed to address the trash that this amount of people produces. So if you're not staffed to pick up the trash, then you're not staffed to enforce it. And you can see like the issue then coming up with the comments regarding the schools and regarding the cans in the hub. Like, that's the root of it.
Again, if you feel that there's a staffing issue, I'll bring those.
No, I want to know from you, Adam, if there's a staffing issue. I don't know how many people work for you and how many people are in the Bronx.
I mean, there's.
It doesn't have to be the commissioner. Like, I want you to come back with those numbers, because I want to know how we compare to similarly transited zones. Because I don't want to just come to the meeting and like complain about it. I want to work towards a solution.
Awesome. Yep. So I think in Thank you for that question. We do want to make sure that the next time we invite DSNY, we make sure that we have questions ahead of time. Again, I want to encourage people to take a look at the agenda so you know what's on the agenda. Email questions that might come up, email them to the community board, email us ahead of time so that we can share these with any of the presenters who are coming on the day of the meeting. Or come to the committee meetings, thank you, Audrey. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you. So I just want to add one more thing, like the gentleman in the middle had said, New York City has become very data driven. 311, again, submit any sort of complaints through the 311. At least you will have that paper trail of those issues and you can follow up with either me or any agency head. You know, again, seeing one thing and not reporting it, it just sort of makes the agency look bad because again, you came here to, seek answers, yet I don't have that because I don't have the data in front of me to let you know how things are working out. Again, I do apologize if I looked unprepared. That's why I'm willing to come, at any future meetings, any committees, that we can simply bounce any ideas, any numbers off of one another. So again.
Thank you, Adam.
Let me know.
All right, so now we're gonna move forward. We don't have any more presenters. We wanna move forward. I wanna move forward and give our council member an opportunity to give a report.
As I stated before, I'm Councilmember Ayala and I represent East Harlem and the South Bronx. And our office is located at 214 St. Anne's Avenue. So if anyone that is in need of our services, you're more than welcome to stop by. I just wanted to kind of update on a couple of things. One, being the office is currently being used to provide and bring resources in lieu of free tax preparation. So, tax season is ready to, it's coming to an end, but if you have anyone that needs help applying, they can do so at our office for free. I believe that Gloria may have already handed out at some point many times the flyer. We're also working with ID NYC, so it has come to our attention that the city HRA, which I have oversight in my committee for, has shut down all of our ID NYC sites with the exception of the one on 149th Street, which is very problematic because as a result, so many people have signed up that you can't possibly get an appointment at this point. And obviously that's problematic because this is a service that is rendered to individuals that have a hard time getting the 6 points required to get a DMV identification. So we are working with them to try to have some pop-up sites, but the idea is that, and this is part of the budget negotiations that are happening now, is that they need to fund other locations and open, those up as soon as possible. The Bronx is the only borough that has this one. So, it brings me to a lot of what has been said today about, the differences in what happens in one community as opposed to another. And because I have both East Harlem and the South Bronx, I do see the disparities. It doesn't mean that we're faring off better on the East Harlem side than we are on this side, but I do see that there is a big difference in terms of like city agency responses. So some things that are happening over there are, expedited or done a different way. I'll give you an example. We were doing movie nights and we found those, I love movie nights in the summer. Everybody loves them. And I did one in East Harlem. They had a face painter, they had ices, they had popcorn. And then I came to the Bronx and they had none, and I paid the same amount of money to bring that resource to the Bronx that I did in East Harlem, right? And so this is, and I want to say that this predates our commissioner, so don't fall for complaining. But it's something that had I not been in both boroughs, I wouldn't have. And so I'm like, why are we paying for a service that it should be a universal service? And there's a difference between what is, provided to the community in one borough as opposed to the other. Now, I don't know what's happening in the other three boroughs, but I take issue with that. In terms of, cleaning services, you're absolutely right. The issue is not so much that there is a little bit of, maybe not some work not getting done, but we have a greater need for more sanitation resources because we have higher density, because we have more people. It's also our garbage, right? We're the ones that are throwing it out on the floor. And we need a better education about why that's not a good idea, right? The health implications, the quality of life, issues that come as a result of that. It's like, really re-educating. And also, I walk with my kids sometimes and they throw something on the floor and I'm like, we're stopping right here, and you're gonna pick this up and you're gonna throw it out. Well, there's no garbage can, we'll put it in your pocket, and when you get somewhere where there's a garbage can, you throw it away. But it happens all the time. I'm driving, I see people throwing garbage out of their cars. Like, it's a huge pet peeve of mine, but the issue is not, and this is something that's really important in the community board, because I really want, as we're talking about also adding new members, is that we have to figure out like what the actual the problem is, so that we're not making assumptions and then not getting it right? So when somebody's coming here, you should know that, like, we do have services. We have services, but we need more services because we all get funded equally, and that's not equity. If I was already at a deficit and now you're giving me the same amount of money that you're giving Audrey, and Audrey already had more than I did, I'm still at a deficit. So it doesn't help, right? So it's not that they're not doing it, it's just that they're not doing enough to address the issues that we have that are specific to our community, because again, we have a lot more of the things that are happening. So it is something that we have been bringing up with the city council. It's something that we continue to bring up at every budget hearing, but I think that that's important for the community to also understand that, so that when you're making the ask, you know what ask you're gonna make, right? We put in money to do the litter pickup, so that we're supposedly picking up the corner litter baskets several times a day, every day. So that should be happening. But we also need bigger garbage cans. If you're looking at some of the garbage cans, they are spilling over. What that tells you is that people are using them, but they're not big enough, or they're not being changed as frequently enough to capture, right? To keep it clean. And so those are, budget asks. That's where you would say, hey, you know what, council member, in this particular corner, we need some of the larger garbage cans. We found those, easily. Also getting maybe a map of like where you're missing garbage cans, but it is dirtier, in the South Bronx. It's filthy. And that's because we're not getting the resources that we need. We're getting what everybody else gets, and that's not equal. I'm gonna just shut up there, and I don't know if anybody has any questions, because I did speak about, St. Mary's. Again, we're doing applications and new applicants for the community board. I will share with you that one of my things that I do check is attendance. I hope, if you are one of mine, please be advised that I do look at the attendance, and we want members that are gonna be present, and are gonna be participating. When you fill out the application asks, like, how much time can you dedicate to this? It's a lot of work. But if you can't show up, then maybe you can become a public member, which allows you the flexibility of not having to take up a space that you can't commit to the way that you want to. So we could work around those issues, and when you're ready to come back, full time, that you have the time, we're happy to do that. Yes, ma'am?
Are you open to meeting smaller nonprofits on the stage in the Bronx?
I meet with a bunch of nonprofits, yes.
Yeah. Are you not, well, we can talk, yeah, okay, we can talk. Yes.
How can you make reference to the South Bronx for years suffering from not getting funding? As a city councilwoman, what's the process for you to make sure we get that funding?
I'm gonna vote to win the lotto tonight. Let me tell you, my job is not easy. It's very difficult, and it's very difficult because I have all of the issues you really can't solve, right? I can't eradicate poverty. I can't eradicate gun violence. I can't, eradicate drug use. I can't eradicate, all of the things that are problematic for us. I think one of the things that I've been fighting for the most, however, has been access to workforce development. I think we saw during the pandemic that this community was seriously devastated, right? You still see the long lines of folks standing outside of the pantry because they need to subsidize whatever, income they have for food with food from the pantry. And the pantries are empty because of that demand. We need workforce development. We need to ensure that the next generation of Bronxites, is prepared to work middle-class jobs. When people come to our community, they're offering us, jobs doing, maintenance and porters. Those great jobs. I'm not knocking them. But why are our kids not being prepared for other things? AI, technology. There's a host of opportunities out there that we don't have access to, and we all need to be very vocal about that. But on my end, we have, we've helped, like one of the things that I'm really stuck on right now is the community centers, right? So I have the highest number of public housing developments in the entire city. As a matter of fact, I just had an incident yesterday at Adams Houses, so it was pretty devastating. And so when I walk into these community centers, they're filthy, there's no programming. The staff is really a bunch of little kids that come from the community, which is great, but they have no training or supervision. And so I worked really hard to change the environment in our community centers. So funding the complete renovation of those programs was really important to me because I want my kids to go in there and feel that these are clean spaces, they're nice spaces, that they don't want to go home. But then we also funded a bunch of supportive programs so that kids that are out there a little bit later could stay inside the community center. And then we started, branching out. But the workforce development piece is really important. And so we're going to be opening up, we actually got a commitment to create a youth hub where the 40th precinct's parking lot currently sits. So as soon as the 40th precinct, the new precinct is complete, they'll move out, and then we're going to have a conversation, which you should most definitely be a part of, on what services should be there. The way that we envisioned it was to create something that modeled the door, because then you have it's a more of a holistic experience. So kids are gonna go into the community center, they're gonna play basketball, but they're gonna wanna go into this space to get their GED, to get access, right, to sponsorships and college applications, things that are mental health services, free medical care, right? Right now, our kids are going into East Harlem to the Mount Sinai Adolescent Clinic because we don't have that service here. So, there's a lot that we are doing, but it's gonna take us years before we actually see the difference.
Thank you, Councilmember Ayala. We're gonna take 2 questions, and we have one in the background.
Hi, Diane. So, as you know, for the last 3 years, I've been talking about getting a community center here in Mount Haven Development. So we need support in that because that will actually bring down the crime. One of the biggest crime is right there near Mitchell, and we know that they can't go to each different development. And so having a community center there so we can work with those kids and work with Patterson and they work together. So we need that support. That's one. As far as all the homeless that has came to the Bronx, how did they clean up 125th Street? Because I know they were all over there and then they just came all over, they just kind of dumped over here onto the
take my 125th Street folks and say that they came from. You don't tell them that, but they're
Well,
not gonna address that, you know, they live on 125th.
No, but I actually know that I will go to 125th Street, right? Because I'm from East Harlem too. I'm from East Harlem too, so I will see how it got so messed up over there.
It didn't get cleaned up overnight.
I didn't say it was overnight, but whatever strategies you use there, I'm asking it to be done here.
I think it was easier to do it there because it was a concentrated, community, right? So you had like a corridor where you had hundreds of people and you could easily go in there and assess what the issues were that were contributing to that. When people are scattered throughout the community, it becomes a little bit more difficult. So I mentioned Patterson, recently, we had an issue on that block. We also had a safe haven. So a safe haven is a space for people that are homeless but are living in the street and wouldn't want to go into a shelter. So the safe havens don't really have a lot of rules, right? You can come, you don't have a curfew, you can come in and go out as you please, you have your own space. People don't bother you because the idea is that they get you inside. But we had to galvanize around that community and hold that safe haven accountable because we were like, we want to help these people. We want them to get the help that they need, but they can't be in the park getting high in front of kids. Like, that's not acceptable, right? And so we had to, it became kind of a little small task force that was a replica of what we did on 125th Street, where we got all of the city agencies that needed to be at the table. So the 40th precinct was there, Yeah. Well, we haven't fixed it. That was just recent. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. Cause, no, but I appreciate that. Yes. If you could give me kind of like, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Francis. I just, for the sake of time, I'm gonna close up on the questions and let the council member finish the last words.
Specific locations where this is a problem, where we're happy to put that together, and we can definitely address that. In terms of the community center, what we did at My Haven was that we put our resources behind the existing community center, which is not necessarily helping the older kids, it's for the smaller kids. So we do recognize that there needs to be more happening there. We need to identify a space within the development, and then NYCHA has to give you. Yeah, but you have to also speak to NYCHA to try to get an estimate of what the cost is. And right now, just so that everybody knows, NYCHA is not accepting any new capital requests because they're so backed up that it's gonna take a minute, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have a plan, right? So that, yeah. No, absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Francis. Thank you, Councilmember Ayala. Anything else? No, I think we're gonna hold off on questions. Thank you so much, Councilmember. We are going to move forward with our voting items. And so for the Prado transitioning forward, I think we have some more questions from the committee. We're gonna ask to hold off right now for the letter of support, just so that we can get some more questions answered.
Right, so if she can come, please reach out to Stephen at the community board to come in to the office as early as possible this week. Thank you.
And then we have Athena Syke, who, are they here?
Yes,
Did they attend
the committee meeting, yes.
But
Right, so, thank you, Madam Chair. Julius Robbins, you're here. So, we had a visit from the Committee on Health and Human Services on March 19th. Heard from Athena Health in reference to they wanted to create a new mental health service app that aims to provide more access to care for the South Bronx community, particularly for minors. through a user-friendly platform offering various mental health services. The app will allow users to track their mental health goals and progress, receive text messages from the providers, and access psychoeducational resources. The app's core function is to provide mental health services through the app, including therapy and medication management. Users can expect to see their mental health access improve over time. We 30% of the caseload is under 18 years of age. This technology, it will continue to literally help folks between the ages of 23 to 38, including especially folks who are all communities throughout the Bronx. The committee was not a quorum, and so they turned this over to the full board for decision. I don't know if Mr. Robbins wants to add additional information as it relates to request to the full board for a letter of support that he's applying for funding to create this app. Want to step up? Be brief and concise. Sergeant at Arms will time you for under 2 minutes.
I could be quicker than 2 minutes. Hi, everyone. My name is Julius Robbins. I'm the Executive Director and CEO of Athena Site. We're a New York State licensed Office of Mental Health clinic in the hub on 3rd Avenue between East 148th and East 149th Street, just down the street from here. Right now in New York State, there are only 15 mobile mental health services apps, and none of them accept Medicaid. You have to pay out of pocket, and you have to have commercial insurance. So it's a huge health inequity, treatment disparity in New York State, and quite frankly, the entire country right now, that there aren't, you don't have, our community members don't have the handheld convenience of a mobile app that is smartphone based and can provide them with better mental health. So that is the mission and why I'm here tonight and seeking support from you all.
Please tell the agency you're applying to for funding.
Absolutely. We're applying to the New York State Department of Health as part of their health transformation IT grant to offer more access to telehealth services in New York State.
Please detail the communities you'll be serving under your this app.
Absolutely. Our primary community is represented here at Community Board 1. We are in the hub, so all members of the South Bronx. Lots of members from outside of the South Bronx area where we're located come to us because there are wait lists everywhere, and we can provide treatment within 1 to 7 days. So we primarily service the South Bronx.
Madam Chair, in the absence of Committee Chairperson Pena, this is a request for the Committee on Health and Human Services for a vote.
Are there any questions from board members? Yep.
Please use the mic.
Member? When you said the insurance, do you also accept private insurances with co-pays?
That's a very good question. As a New York State Office of Mental Health clinic, our singular mission is to help underserved populations with Medicaid. So we do not, by design, accept commercial insurance. We want all of our staff and focus to help the underserved population with Medicaid. Yeah, absolutely.
Paola has a question.
So just to get more clarity on how the services are, how people in the community can access the services, right? Like if I am a customer, assuming that I have Medicaid, the services will be free to me. Is there like a rate in terms of the outreach cost to the community? Like, are you budgeting certain amount to inform the community about the services?
We currently market through our website and through Google, but in terms of any costs from community members who want mental health services, it's all covered by Medicaid or a managed care organization like Metro Plus, Health First, Fidelis. So there's no out-of-pocket cost, and we don't charge any money to anyone.
Thank you. Okay, so,
Ramona.
Sorry. Based on internet literacy in the community, are you going to explore other pathways to engage folks that would be eligible but still face the challenge with online use and access?
So right now, if you're want to be, if you want mental health services and you call our clinic, we will ask you your preference. Do you want to be seen in person or would you like to have health services? So we are not replacing our in-person services that are at our clinic in the hub. If anything, we're growing those in-person services and availability. So it's an option for people who have the digital literacy or perhaps who lack the digital literacy but are willing to be trained and supported to use the app. So it's all inclusive across the board.
Thank you. Okay,
Sure.
so right now we're gonna have a roll call vote really quick. Voice vote, sorry. One last question, quick.
That's a great question. We have over 125 part-time and full-time therapists, and that's why we should provide services within 1 to 7 days. We have nurse psychiatric practitioners and psychiatrists as well.
Psychotherapists, clinical social workers?
Absolutely. We have a lot of LCSWs, LMSWs, LMHCs, LMFTs, LPs, you name it.
How do you build a licensed clinical social worker? I know there's some issues with licensed clinical social workers billing for their services.
Well, all of our therapists and clinicians are employees, so they don't really bill us. They're on payroll as an employee, and we bill the Medicaid plan for the service.
What's the diversity of the staff?
It's great. Over 68% of our therapists are identified as BIPOC, and many of them are local Bronx residents, and that's the way we want it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, so now I'm gonna ask for a motion to provide a letter of support. Whitney, I see your hand.
Whitney Williams, board member, I move to provide a letter of support in support of their grant application.
Second. Any discussions on the motion? Any abstentions? All in favor? Awesome. We're going, any nays? Okay, we're going to call out the vote.
Thank you.
All right, letters approved.
The app just needs improvement. I was gonna say. So I'm concerned that people.
Okay. So for the sake of time, we're gonna do this pretty quick because we're a little behind our time. All right, so we're going into the elected officials report. Is anybody here from the mayor's office? Do you have a presentation? We're gonna. You could do it right there. That's fine.
Could you give the mic? Get to her.
Hi, my name is Paula Caquias. I'm here representing Leo Coelho. He's the Bronx Borough Director. He's on leave, so for the time being, I'll be here attending the meeting. So I'm here listening. It's a great presentation. I've been learning a lot. It's been a while since I've been here. I think some of you remember me from last 2 years ago. Just wanted to give you two things. I'll be quick. There's going to be a new initiative called Jobs NYC. There was an event on Monday at the Betances Community Center. It was a job community resource fair. We're gonna have that every month in every borough. So I'll make sure the next one, when it's scheduled, that the board knows that it's scheduled and you can prepare for it. If you know anyone who has looking for work, we're trying to target areas in the Bronx and every other borough that have high unemployment rates. And that's it. Another thing is neighborhood support teams. That's something initiative in our community affairs unit department. The applications due April 4th. Basically, anyone, community board, nonprofit organization, any group who is interested in applying for this application is basically anything quality of life that's impacting the community. You fill the application. If selected, we'll do 6 months of basically creating a task force where we're tackling that issue. So if there is something with St. Mary's Park or a certain neighborhood in the area, and you feel that needs to be addressed, you could apply and we'll work with the application. So I'll give you that information. I'll give it to Jordan, Anthony, and I'll make sure that he has it when you apply. The application's April 4th. I think it's a great opportunity to get involved and get our unit working on any issues you have here that's quality of life issues. That's it. My email, if you want to reach out to me, it's Paula Caquias, so it's PCAQUIAS @cityhall.nyc.gov. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. Anyone here from the Borough President's office? From Congressman Torres' office? New York State Senate, Jose Serrano. Can we get on the mic? Because we'll bring it as quick, yeah.
My name is Summer. I'm from Senator Serrano's office. Jose Ramon, who usually attends these meetings, couldn't make it tonight, so I'm filling in for him. Just a few updates from us. Senator Serrano is still in Albany right now, so today he chaired the meeting of the Senate Committee on Cultural Affairs, Tourism, Parks, and Recreation. They passed multiple bills that are now going to head to the Senate floor. Two of the senators' bills included one that will create arts and cultural districts in the area, which will help for funding and receiving resources for arts programs, and also another one that will strengthen the reporting requirements for parkland alienation. Last week, he hosted a rally alongside many local arts organizations to call for increased funding for the arts in this year's budget. And he also co-hosted a panel at SOMO's conference a few weeks back, and that was to discuss the impact of culture and identity in addressing mental health for immigrant youth. As always, our office is here to help you guys. If there's anything we can assist you with, feel free to stop by, give us a call, whatever works best for you. We have a offsite constituent services. Let me find the right date for you guys. That's going to be Tuesday, April 9th, and that's going to be at Brinken Court, Mitchell Older Adult Center. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone from Honorable Luis Sepulveda's office? Chantel Jackson's office? Amanda Septimo's office? Brad Lander's office? Jamani Williams? Rafael Salamanca? Darcel Clark?
Hey everyone, my name is Marixel Valdez-Wiggins. I'm the community liaison for Councilmember Salamanca for District 17. At the New York City Council Stadium meeting that was held on February 28, 2024, Councilmember reintroduced 3 bills. Intro 199, that will require letter grades for food services established operated in our city schools. This bill will require the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene to establish a letter grading system similar to the one used for restaurants for sanitary conditions of school cafeterias and kitchens. Intro 0426, that would allow a business entity registered by the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene as a tobacco bar to seek the transfer of this registration as well as one-time transfer of the tobacco retail dealer's license upon showing of financial hardship and that registration for a new location is warranted to operate within same of the different communities district. Intro 0434 will require a large building, a building with a water device, or building which primarily houses people older than 65, or building that has multiple housing units and a centralized hot water system. In the beginning of this month, Councilmember Salamanca was able to obtain official landmark of Joseph Robin Drake Park and its late People's Burial Ground. He has advocated for this monumental effort since 2010, back when he was the district manager for CD2. Last week on March 20th, Councilmember Rafael Salamanca hosted a ribbon cutting ceremony to celebrate the newly installed CCTV security cameras at Melrose houses. First introduced in 2017, funding for the cameras was secured through a $3 million award from the 2018 fiscal year budget, thanks to continued lobbying from the council member and investment in security and peace of mind for the Melrose residents. These new cameras will also ensure the help usher in a greater sense of public safety for the entire South Bronx community. Today, Councilmember hosted a check presentation at Lincoln Hospital for the $3 million that he was able to allocate for sterilization of equipment. Councilmember has allocated a total for $40,241,000 in capital funding to various healthcare facilities, which includes $10,469,000 to Lincoln for multiple uses. The full breakdown is as follows: $110K for a stereostatic breast cancer biopsy system, $884K for renovation and purchase of equipment for 2 X-ray suites, $2.9 million for a nurse core bell system, $375K for an S8 brain tumor stealth detection station, $3.2 million for ultrasound and new natal equipment and operating room C-arm system, $3 million for sterilization equipment of various departments. Today's check presentation. As a reminder, any community board members that are up for reappointment, please be sure to submit your applications. Some members have expressed that they have yet to receive their reappointment applications. However, please be mindful, request them if need be, and submit them at your earliest convenience. Our office is open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Our information is on the back in the information card. If you need more information, we have immigration lawyers Monday and Tuesdays by appointment only. Please reach out to our office for an appointment. On Wednesday, April 10th, Councilmember Salamanca will host an annual Heroes Recognition Breakfast at the Botanical Gardens, 2950 Southern Boulevard, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Due to limited seating, RSVPs are required and can be submitted by phone or email. And please follow us to see what we're doing. If you have any concerns or questions, please follow us on Facebook, CM Salamanca, Twitter at CM Salamanca JR, Instagram at CM Salamanca JR_DCT. If you have any questions or concerns, I'll be at the meeting. You can give me my card. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Okay, so next up, we have the public safety report, but for the sake of time, I know that we have the 40th precinct here, no PSA 7. I know that you come with the stats. The stats can be emailed to us. If any community board members have any questions for the 40th precinct? Nothing based off of,
Are they bringing stats to show us the differences, how we requested them, or just straight up stats? Then they're outstanding on what they owed us from before.
which is why I'm passing on the, on the stats. So if we can get the breakdown of the stats from previous, and I don't know if that's
Comparison.
the strategies.
Right, strategies.
So the stats can be emailed to the board members. We can email that out to board members. But I wanted to also address any concerns. If there were pressing concerns for the 40th precinct, we can take those concerns. Otherwise, we're gonna move forward with the agenda. Yes.
Please stand and say your name. Please stand. Thank you.
Jasmine, when the email was got to me, I don't know if the meeting that was held yesterday, if they shared just highlights from the meeting and the action items.
From yesterday at Hostos?
Yeah.
Yep. So do you have any information regarding yesterday's meeting at Hostos?
Hello, good evening, everybody. So yeah, I was there. They got pretty good questions in regards to getting fundings. They wanted to talk about a clergy. Each precinct had like a clergy community council meeting, right? And those councils were supposed to show the community the offices that are there. The community comes, they talk about any questions that they have. They try to solve issues. They meet the officers that work in the area. But what they wanted to do was clergy community council meeting, because they're saying that a lot of these churches have problems. So, and they also have resources that can help people. So what they wanted to do was collaborate with all the clergy. We're talking about all different types of clergies, different types of religions come together and try to help everybody out. Another issue that they were talking about was the migrants. So what they wanted to do was try to find ways to get the migrants jobs, get them programs that they can be working citizens here. They need jobs, you know, and you see them and they're out there and they're really hustling for trying to find jobs. So that was another issue that they spoke about, but I think that.
Is there, Officer Lopez, is there, any, who in the precinct can give us like a
maybe like a couple of notes from recap of that?
That would be Manhattan Borough, because they're the ones that actually get the meeting. So I'll try to see if anyone was clocking the question.
Sorry, not to hog your time, but I think your vandalism come up in terms of cars, like specifically on Brook Avenue, line up between 156 and 159.
Vandalism didn't come up because people from all over the Bronx came. So it wasn't just focused on this area, they were focusing on all of them.
But if there are issues that you have about vandalism, either the community council meetings or the community board office would be your outlet to ensure that you, or that you believe is a very serious crime, and to be work very closely here my report with the NYPD, 48 weeks of State 7 on quality of life and crime related issues.
When are the community council meetings?
Yes, I want to address that today. The meetings for the 40 precinct is the first Wednesday of every month. So the next one is April 3rd at 564 Jackson Avenue. That's PS MS 5, and it's 6:30 to 7:30.
Thank you. I know you also wanted to mention something about the Citizens Academy.
Yes, so the NYPD, we have a police citizens academy. We have it twice a year. I would recommend anyone who's interested to do it. The next one, we're gonna start signing people up in August, but it's a free 6-week course. And after you take that 6-week course, you actually get a certificate and a graduation at 1 pp. So what that course consists of is just, they try to train you what the training that, and they'll put you in real life situations, like it's acting situations, but at least you can see firsthand from yourself how quick a police officer has to think in really tough situations.
Thank you. I did the Citizens Academy. I will say that it is really helpful. Thank you, Lois, thank you to the podium. So just so that the community board, the public knows, any concerns that you have, for instance, you brought up park vandalism, if you have any pictures, if you have a location, send those in to us so that we can make sure that we make the connection with the precinct and see if they have an answer for you and see if we can get those things addressed. So anytime there's an issue like with police or vandalism or any issues that require police, send us those pictures, send all of that to the email that was given. Okay, thank you. So we're gonna move forward with the chairperson's report. This is gonna be quick, but I just wanted to recap. I sent out the recap of our executive team meeting, and our executive team meeting has been assigned. That's super important, and prioritizing those community issues, strategically planning how we are going to move towards action, throughout all of our committees. So every committee has been meeting to talk about how we're going to move on specific issues that they agree are very important to the community. And we'll present that to the larger board, to the public, as we continue to talk in our committee chair reports. You'll get a lot of that. So some of those issues, and not limited to, our savings section 9 that was talked about yesterday with the housing committee. Banks creating spaces for seniors and safety and accommodations. So that's something that the seniors are tackling, where they want to have some kind of priority window so that they don't stand for long periods of time, waiting for long periods of time. The St. Mary's Park construction, and some other issues that committees are tackling. Urging folks to attend those committee meetings. If you're a part of the public, look at our calendars, see which committees are important to you, and show up to those committee meetings. The Bronx Borough President's budget priorities have been approved. Committee Board 1, we sent in a list of recommendations, and while those were considered, things weren't tailored to what we recommended. But one of the things that our policy and legislative chair committee person suggested, and committee suggested, is that we write a letter to our council members. And I think she'll talk more a little bit about that, but writing a letter to urge them not to cut funding to our youth programs. Street activity permits. So one of the new things that now with street activity permits and DOT permits, those things come to the community board. So anytime you wanna have a block party, anytime the street is gonna be closed, those permits come to the community board. In the past, the district manager has been the only person, who would approve those. And now, we work as a team to make sure that those are discussed among the committees and the committees determine, after thorough investigation and evaluation, the committees determine if they want to approve or deny, any of those permits, for community events. And so if you know of a community event that's happening, if you know about a block that's happening in your community, talk to us about it, let us know. If you want to advocate for it, if you're against it, come to us, let us know why. Come to the community board for that.
Excuse me, could you just say what? Yeah, apply for those permits, what's the deadline?
So usually you have to apply, you have 60 days? 60 days to apply, before the event. So if you have an event, you have to apply 60 days, electronically online. It still goes through the city. Okay, so time and attendance, so we're finalizing next steps for those who have not met the attendance requirement. Expect to receive a letter outlining, specifically for board members, a letter outlining the next steps soon. I strongly advise members to attend the committee meetings and full board meetings. Those of you who are up for recertification, those of you who have not been attending, will get a letter, to let you know what the next steps will be. Leaving meetings early are, considered absences. And we, so we strongly recommend that you stay for the full board meetings and. I want to highlight and acknowledge the dedication of our Saturday volunteers who have been exceptional during the food distribution. Every Saturday, we have been distributing food from the, in March, we were able to provide, fresh produce to over 400 families. So that's amazing. I want to shout out the media and tech committee who have been meeting, has made our meetings available via YouTube. And so, you can now access our meetings online, live on YouTube. While these recordings are accessible, they do not replace the requirement for in-person attendance, at meetings. And so you have to be here in person because when we have our voting items, we need you in person to vote. You cannot vote, via online. And that concludes my, report. Thank you. We're going to move on to the district manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'll be very brief in this of time because we got with sanitation. So the Committee on Environmental Justice and Sanitation, Chief, please check your calendar, they meet. We're gonna have the Deputy Chief for the borough, gonna be there in attendance, specifically to discuss the issue around enforcement, because we have been talking about the issue around ticketing, drivers versus, homeless being ticketed. We have discussed the issues around cleanup, like the council member, like everyone on this board. Sanitation is a big issue for me. Seeing, especially when we looked around parts of our district, and legal dumping, because I believe it definitely has development, tourism, and so many other things where people either live or visit our district. It has, what our board members brought up and meeting about the direct connection around mental health, how you feel when you walk around the community or the district is dependent on whether that is a clean. So we got to really focusing in the next couple of months. Thank you, Board Member Williams, for bringing it up on how our district is looking sanitation wise. So I appreciate everyone to please, if you have suggestions about where you are seeing over saturation of garbage and legal dumping, this is like this. I'm gonna build on what the chair was talking about committees. A lot of the work of the board happens in committee. So if you're interested, the board office usually stays open pretty late. We have board chairs that say they're interested. ideas about what we should be talking about. I mean, the agency has to the board, please make sure you are included in committee. If my report is written as part of the package so that we can,
Thank you. I also want to add that 311 reports will also be reviewed at the committee, at the respective committees. So any 311 reports that are being put into, that are being, in our communities that are being made, we will have access to, and we will begin reviewing those reports to make sure that, they're being responded to and they're being addressed.
Just a point of clarification on the sanitation issue. Are you gonna follow up with?
especially, yes. So he definitely was prepared here to talk about one specific issue relating to that piece, but we, team and I have been talking aggressively to the folks at sanitation, about what the parties of the board is. Especially, we've been engaging in areas of the Third Avenue bid where we have a seat on the board because Third Avenue has been a big issue where, around in the Community Plaza, we all know about the conditions in that area and how just kind of isolating around public safety and sanitation. And so, yes, to directly address
So
our
do you
candidate.
think it'll be helpful to the, for speakers that we're inviting in, that they should be prepared to provide statistics
Right.
on the entire district, regardless of their
I
representative level?
Sure, I appreciate that, and I think that we, specifically, he was, part of public session and not part of specifically agency to present on, district-wide related issues, and see if we can speak up about that. But I think that
See, NYPD has had the same issue of sanitation, every agency, we keep having to press them, and they don't really come back consistently with that info.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move on to committee reports. We're gonna start with the Economic Development and Land Use Committee, report with bylaw.
Okay.
And everybody has notes, so committee chairs, feel free to summarize and just recap. You don't have to go through them.
Martinez and I have to share for the Economic Development Land Use Committee. And we had a meeting on March 5th, where basically we had some presentations from several organizations and people looking for support from our community. So I will summarize. We had a fairly active meeting on March 5th. And we were chatting, basically, very important, we introduced the vice chair. One, and I think this is a great decision for our community. We had a presentation from Ms. Maria Prado from Founding of Transition Forward, who was here this evening, and she's looking for support for establishing a transitional housing for former homeless folks in our community. Devon, Director of Projects for South Bronx Unite, came to our board to provide a presentation about development in our community. South Bronx Unite is a nonprofit organization focused on justice with a campaign to monitor air quality and push policy through community-based development. The organization is working on acquiring the Hearts Community Center through a community land trust in the Mount Haven Fort Worth community.
And they want to redevelop and rehabilitate this historic building in the South Bronx after being abandoned in 2013. So they have been working to repurpose this building into a community hub for health, education, the arts, and culture with a fully baked feasibility plan released in 2018. They have secured $12 million in city capital funding for this project, which in my opinion was phenomenal. The project is now focused on securing additional funding and approvals to move forward with a $44 million project. The revitalization of this community center in the South Bronx provides the opportunity to re-engage the community over the next 6 to 7 months to ensure that the vision of the project is maintained. I recommended that the bond came to our community board to provide a presentation to the full board because I think it will be very, very interesting for the overall community to learn about this project. The representative from BXEDC, Ruby Lopez, introduced a community advantage loan in our community. This is a new product providing access to capital for small to medium-sized businesses in the South Bronx. And if you know anybody who could benefit from this new application, please share. Feel free to reach out if you want more information about it. This is basically the office of President of Manhattan, Bronx Borough President Vanessa Gibson. They were able to find some funds that were lost, approximately $10 million, I believe. And this money was reallocated to the BXEDC, not the OEDC as we knew it, but they also have a rebranding. And this funding is now available for small and medium-sized business owners who want to apply. The funds can be available to hire staff for improvements, to buy equipment, and whatever needs that the business owners may want to cover. So I think that we also invited Ruby Lopez to present to the full board because this is an amazing opportunity for our community. And the entrepreneurs must have at least 2 years of business history to qualify for funding from this initiative. SCA loans and empowerment zones in New York City. Ruby Lopez also discussed the interest rate for these loans, which start at 10.5% and may go down by the second quarter. So this is much lower rate than what the traditional loans for small business owners out there go for. Cannabis licensing and funding in New York City. Our community board reviews dozens of applications. Starting this new session, we reviewed over 15 or plus applications. We are contacting representatives from OCM to resolve some of the issues that community members bring forward. One of them, community member, Emma Butler, has been very diligent about her issues. And then we continue to evaluate other applications that come forward. And what we decide is to come together to review some of the parameters for what we want the applicants to put forward, like the type of information that they should bring for us to review. Improving public spaces in commercial districts. We had a presentation of a site visit with Pedro Suarez, who is the new executive director from the Third Avenue B, and look forward to working with him to support our small businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. That is one of our busiest committees. There's a lot going on over there. So, all right, next up, we have our Ambrose with municipal services.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't think there's anything you would probably just want to, you can understand. We've not yet on any questions. So we spend the time actually at Gandhi and just to discuss how we're going to approach the issue. So if you can, and she gave us a presentation, so we'll just prepare the next step. What I do is just making sure that the community is informed about what is going on. Please come to the meeting, first Wednesday of the month, 6 to 8. Also call 311. Let's get in public calling them. It's the key number that will help us. We cannot do a lot, but if you call that number, that will trigger a reaction every time the CDP, every 2.
Thank you. We're gonna move to Sonny Lopez, Communications and Technology.
So in the Comms and Tech Committee meeting, we talked about streaming meetings with tech recommendations, and as you can see, we're streaming meetings virtually. It's going to improve. Right now, we're just using a little laptop, whatever resources we can, but through the Comms and Tech Committee, we're also making recommendations for equipment that we can start using, including cameras, tripods, audio equipment, so that we can stream more efficiently and so that it looks better. Inclusion and community outreach. So of course, we talked about interpretation services at community board meetings. The district manager shared that we are looking into it in the community board to see about pricing and maybe perhaps working with a working cooperative that provides language access and also has these devices that people can wear in community board meetings to listen to the language they have. Newsletter updates, one of our committee members in the Comms and Tech Committee is going to be working on creating a template for the newsletter, so we should be seeing those soon, going out in email blasts to the full committee in various languages. And we got approved by OTI, the Mayor's Office of Community Affairs Leader, who currently manages the community board website. It's a generic website, and what we requested is that we create our own website for CD1 and customize it, and they said yes. So they're going to create a template for us, and we're going to basically modify it in the way that we would like it. And of course, it will go out to everyone so that folks can improve. There are also a set of best guidelines for community board committee meetings, so I can share that with the full board. Just these guidelines are about handling inquiries from the media, but all inquiries from the media should go directly to me, the chair for the Comms and Tech Committee. So if you are contacted by the media, please forward that email to me or to Anthony Jordan, so that our district manager, so that he can then forward it to me. Have access to all the meeting minutes and are able to answer inquiries. We're also going to be posting a call for an a Comms and Tech intern. So that's being posted on Handshake. We're looking for, obviously, the community to assist with recording our meetings and also helping us in future community board one events that we're looking to hold. And I think that's it.
Can follow us here?
Oh, you can follow us at Bronx CD1. That's our at on all the social media platforms, at Bronx CD1.
Thank you, Sandy. Our next committee presentation will be, Josephine Burns, Senior and Aging. Want to get the mic? We have the mic. You want to come up? We have a mic.
Sit if you don't mind. I'm just going to summarize our meeting, which took place on March 13th. We had a very good showing, not only of board members, but of community members as well. And we discussed, one of the important issues was around safety, particularly around cash machines in the banks. We also discussed issues with the access ride, Medicaid services accessibility, and the fact that these seniors are always having issues with communicating within the system to get their needs met in terms of pickup. Several people had complained that they had missed several appointments with their doctors, and then to reschedule, it took a long time, so that's important. especially for seniors. There is also a need to know who the players are in terms of the accessorize. So we have invited for our May meeting. We will get the people who are the top tier representatives from Department of Aging to come to our meeting. And in the meantime, we're going to send out flyers to the representative senior centers in the community so that they know that we are having representatives from the Department of Aging. We have also are going to invite, there is about, 9 banks in the community that we would like to have a special window for seniors for obvious reasons. And that is supposed to be happening in our April meeting. And from that, I believe there was a motion that we were supposed to bring tonight. Didn't we do a motion? Okay, sorry. Had Miss Precious Quick, which is from Bronx Works, come to the meeting and she is here at the community board on Wednesdays and to be accessible for any quality of life issues, senior issues, food assistance, eviction prevention, especially for anyone in the community, but for seniors and farmers markets as well. There is a lack of communication in terms of what programs or what food distribution is available for seniors or people in general in the community. And I know that we have a program here on Saturdays where there are free produce being given out, and there was a suggestion to give out more. There should be more public information and flyers maybe put out on the windows outside to let people know. Although it seems like if they gave out 400, it seems like the word is out. Yeah. Yeah. Did you have a question?
Oh, there's a couple minutes left of that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Couple seconds.
All right, so to recap, we are going to get a list of all the senior centers from the Department of Aging. And we're gonna post flyers in all the senior centers in the community to let them know that they were having representatives with the Department of Aging in May. And we're gonna try and find an ADA accessible location for that meeting. And that is it.
Thank you, Ms. Josephine. Our next committee, is the LGBTQIA committee. Audrey?
I'm just gonna summarize. We had a great discussion. We appointed a vice chairperson, Sean Coleman, from Destination Tomorrow, was approved by the committee. We worked hand in hand in this meeting that was on March 18th. The dialogue went well. We're gonna be focusing on creating a report on stats of the LGBTQ communities and in favor of what other leagues are in the South Bronx compared to the other boroughs. We're gonna reach out to Henry Martin. I'm gonna get the copy of the LGBT curriculum so we could use it in Destination and the youth committee. I'm gonna bring a lot of information because there seems to be a correlation with mental health and youth in all of our meetings. Whatever information is gonna get, I suggest that we all share it on our committees and bring it to the next committee's meetings if it's possible, Madam Chair? Yes. And we're gonna draft criteria status for organizations serving the LGBT community to ensure knowledge. Efficient. We are leaders serve in the LGBT community. That's the wrap up.
Thank you, Audrey. Next, we have two more. We have the legislation, bylaw, and policy delivery. And then we'll have ethics.
Hi, my name is Warren. I chair bylaws,
policy and legislation for our community board. I do have a pending letter that year, and it's projected to be cut next year. Obviously, it will be 30 days. Our meeting was quite productive. I've had two community members and we talked about legislation we want to support. TOPA, which is a program to help people purchase affordable units. Also a program to help small businesses have affordable commercial space. That was a pending legislation introduced at City Council that has not had a lot of traction since. So these are things that we are looking to do, is that legislators are really here, letters of support, letters of opposition, letters in amendments, policies that can better help our district.
Thank you, Delaney. Evelyn Alvarez with Ethics and Conflict Resolution. Wake us up, wake us up.
I was about to do this in a round, but I'm like, nah. Hold on, I'm 16 in it right now. Hello, everyone. My name is Evelyn Alvarez. My pronouns is Day, and I am the chair of the Ethics, Discipline, and Conflict Resolution Committee. Wait a minute. I need y'all to act like this is the last one on the list. So, right. I'm super excited, not just to be here with y'all today, but also to let you know that today we have our first committee meeting, which is really great. Yay to the participants that showed up. And we will definitely let you know, we're trying to find a time that is actually more accessible for community because we want this to be a community space. Today what we did was we talked about what ethics means for the purpose of having shared understanding so that I'm not thinking this one thing, somebody else is not thinking this another thing, and we end up creating unequitable and also unfair spaces for folks. So what we talked about was really how to successfully speak to each other so that we can prevent misunderstandings and have a system of priorities in the way that we navigate conflict resolution. Our goal is to be able to extend these skills to our community at large and to also invite us to be confident and clear about the way that we just don't speak externally, but also the way that we interact in this space together so that when we have guests and things of that nature, that we also get an opportunity to really share and ask and lead with curiosity. So the goal is for us to navigate how we communicate to and with each other. Again, our meetings are open to all. We invite you to be part of this meeting so that we can collectively develop the skills, acquire the skills, and grow the skills so that we can go out and support and we can really help mitigate some of the challenges that are happening in our community as it pertains to misunderstandings and crime. So I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any new business? Any new business? Yes,
Question.
go for it.
My name's Francine Rogers. I live here in Lakewood. What's the deal with the subway, 149th Street, Third Avenue, the elevator?
Now working?
So at the next, so it is, and, all right, thank you, Ms. Rogers, for that. So at the next, upcoming municipal services meeting, it was requested by the chair to have NTA testify. We have the invitation still out there. So.
Thank you. That's how we got Amber. He's on it. So quick announcement. So we have my Haven runs the color. This is a walk run group. All right, shout out to some of y'all that are here. I see you. So come on out. Mondays at 6:30 we walk or we run or we roll. Your preference. It's 2 miles. It's a great way to get moving. The weather's getting nice, and we're actually in St. Mary's Park, so you get to see what we're talking about. We haven't been to the park, but also we're activating in space. So the goal is to be activating space. You deter the unwanted things that happen in space. All right. We also there's an autism walk that's happening from one of our parents leading this autism walk that's happening April 27th. April 27th, and it's also at St. Mary's Park. We'll have flyers, give that out soon, but, save the date, April 27th, autism walk. Don't forget, we distribute fruits and vegetables every Saturday at our community board office at 3024 Third Avenue. And, we have a calendar for y'all to check in and make sure you attend our committees. Fill up the space. The space is there for you. You know, you guys are in the committees, you are in spaces, a lot of you are in spaces that we aren't in. We can't be in all of the spaces, like when I heard the elevator is not working on 149th Street. I mean, I had no idea, and so those are the things that, like, we're not in all the spaces all the time. And so coming to these committee meetings, sharing the things that matter, bringing a neighbor, bringing someone, bringing a young person, getting them involved in the community board is very, very important. So I just want to leave that. Any other new business?
Yeah, what did we do in the environment? Very important. If you want to change, you have to be part of it. You can't make a change from outside.
That's right.
Inside and make a change.
Thank you. Any old business? Can I get a motion to adjourn? Josephine Burns makes a motion to adjourn. Can I get a second? Ramona makes a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objections? All in favor, say aye. I can't.